Hi, everyone. This is Adriana, and I am joined here again with my beautiful grandmother, Caitlin, here. Say hello, and we are so excited to be back for our second video podcast on heart-to-heart astrology. And we're going to be discussing in this video the importance of the solar eclipse coming up, which is on April 8th. And yeah, I think we're just going to get right into it. We already did our introductions last time. So Grammy, Caitlin here, I'm so used to calling you Grammy. She's going to go ahead and share what she will be talking about. And then I will give you a brief intro of what I will be talking about.
Okay. I'm going to be talking about the solar eclipse and some of the challenges people may be experiencing or have been experiencing already with the lunar eclipse, because these are very much entwined. We're in eclipse season. So I like to talk about the energetics and the healing possibilities that come through these eclipses or any type of astrological alignment. So that's what I'm going to be sharing today.
I will be discussing more of the collective influence, and particularly with the United States, since it is going straight through the United States, which I think is very significant. And yeah, I'm just gonna kind of share a little bit of a mythological standpoint with it as well, as I feel it really relates. So without any further delay, we will get into your first part of this.
You like to join me for a cup of tea?
Yes, we have our cup of tea. We had our
I
tea
have
today.
Earl Grey and coconut cream. What are you drinking?
Oh yeah, that sounds so good with the coconut cream and Earl Grey. I have to try that sometime. I am drinking just a basic green tea with some honey in it, just to help soothe my voice while I do this video. And I have my little unicorn
I
cup.
love this cup. Well, this
And yours
is
is
an
pretty.
artist made this cup. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it is really nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You coordinated without planning it. You have on the blues
Yes.
and the orange peach, and I do too.
Yeah, yeah. So please feel free to join us with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. Take some notes if you'd like, and just enjoy this video with us.
Let's dive in.
Yeah, cheers to that.
So this total solar eclipse is coming up on April 8th, 2024. And it's going to begin around 2:18 Eastern Daylight Time. So that would be, let's see, what would that be in the UK, honey? What would that be?
Let's see.
4 hours
I have it
ahead.
written down. It'll
6:18.
be about
Yeah.
5 hours actually with the
Oh, it's
daylight
5
saving.
hours now. Oh, good Lord.
Uh,
Times
it'll
two.
be 7:52 UK time.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I
so
was
it'll
just
only
talking
be
about
partial.
it actually starts, like the beginning of
Okay.
totality will be 3:15,
Yes.
the
Yes.
Eastern Daylight Time.
Yes,
And
over in Cleveland. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we're in Northeast Ohio,
Mhm.
and we have the absolute benefit of having a 3-minute, 34-second window of time. But let me tell you first what a solar eclipse is. And it is in the new moon. Um, so the solar eclipse this time around is in the new moon. It's not always, it could come in a full moon, but in this time it is. And it's in the zodiac sign of Aries. So Aries is the beginning of the astrological calendar. So this new moon and the new beginning of Aries is so powerful. So what happens when an eclipse is total like this? So it's the moon aligning between the sun and the earth, and its presence totally covers the face of the sun, and it's going to create a darkness. So for those of us in the totality positioning, we will see it like dawn or dusk. And it will last, like I had said, for about 3 minutes and X amount of seconds, depending on the location. Um, so the lunar eclipse in Libra was on March 25th, and we have a video that talks about it. You can certainly go back to our first video because these eclipses last a long time. Okay, so don't think that, oh, that was already happened. Um, they unfold over time. And in fact, this total Aries solar eclipse, I've heard a couple astrologers that I follow say that it could last up to 9 years in effect. That's a long time,
Mm,
a really long
very
time.
nice.
So it's important to start preparing yourself. So this April 8th in Aries solar eclipse is themed around relationships and how they are playing out in our lives. So we still have that connection to the lunar eclipse of Libra that we talked about. So my guides, my spirit guides have told me that healthy communication is the saving grace of this eclipse season. So for the whole shebang. Um, if we are having difficulty in communicating, even within ourselves, if we're in denial or blocking, we're going to struggle a little bit during this time. And then if we have trouble with others in explaining how we're feeling and communicating correctly, there can be difficulty as well. But if you're in a healthy communication, you're authentic and you're sharing your truth, and hopefully your partner, whoever you're with, and speaking with your boss, your coworkers, wherever, if they are in healthy communication, this can be an amazing time. And I'd like people to know that this combination of Aries and Libra are also in our lunar nodes. And I talked a bit about that in the last video. The North Node is in Aries, and it's what we are becoming. Okay, so we are going into a new beginning. This could be very exciting, into a place where we've never been. It's very exciting. um, and the South Node in Libra is what we already know. So again, realize that these two nodes are in conversation, or the planets go into conversation with one another. And it's like, how healthy is the conversation? And then that plays out in us. So this could be an even more challenging eclipse season because the master communicator, Mercury, is going into retrograde on April 1st, which is very close. And I'm not fooling about that. This is no April Fool.
Yeah,
This is
April
the real
Fool.
deal. We got Mercury retrograde on top of an eclipse.
Mm.
So what does that mean? A lot of people may not even know what the retrograde means. It basically means a retrograde motion, which is an optical illusion caused by all the planets moving at different speeds from one another. So appearing, big word, appearing to move backwards or slowing down. In astrology and also in metaphysics, we view it as an opportunity to make peace with slowing down in our lives and becoming more observing of our experiences. So, for example, a Mercury retrograde is not a great time to start something absolutely and completely new. It's better to focus on a revision of something that's already in our lives. So a revision and revisioning, kind of think of that, of maybe a significant relationship in our life. Instead of jumping into, that he said, she said, and we talked about this on our past video, and just, closing the doors on a relationship. What if you could revision it? And it's not a great time to break up, have a divorce, leave a job during Mercury retrograde. I mean, if it happens, it happens, obviously. But if you have a choice and can, work with it, it's always good to wait and see what happens. So ways to approach a revision of a relationship could be through deep reflection, such as reflecting back on the relationship. And here's one of the best questions that anybody could ask. Where is the love? Where is the love? This is how Venus can be a beautiful guide through the eclipse journey. She helps us to revisit how we first fell in love. And right now she's still in Pisces. And then she's going to redirect us when she moves into Aries on April 5th. So when that happens on April 5th, we could maybe have more clarity about the relationship, and then realize, is this really a challenging relationship? Or have I only been focused on the other and not really looking at myself? So let me give a little example. And then, Adri, we're going to talk a little bit about some questions here. Okay, um, so I actually teach an astrology basics workshop. So those of you who live in the area, you're welcome to contact me. And it helps so much to understand astrology and for every area of your life. So the zodiac sign of Aries is the Ram. It's also in relationship to the first house in the astrology wheel. And the first house and Aries are all about the self. So here's a couple questions that you can ask yourself. And I'll make sure that I give these to Adriana so they could be in the notes on this video.
Mhm.
Um, what individuates you? How do you express who you are? Those are two powerful questions. Um, Also, a little bit about abusing the body. Do you love your body or do you kind of abuse it? Do you try to push yourself to do so much? I have to do this. And instead of letting the body tell you when it needs rest. So let's talk about this a little bit, Adriana. How are you
Mm.
with that? Do you honor your body when you feel like you need rest, or do you push yourself? What happens for you?
Yeah, I think there's definitely times where, on a personal level, I will push myself, just because, especially with the Aries energy, I think me and you have talked about this the other day. We feel so motivated. It's that fiery, motivated energy. So you almost kind of want to push yourself more and get things done. But as you said, you want to take some time to honor your body. Like today, for example, I was so happy I could just sleep in a little bit, kind of take my time
Oh,
this
yeah.
morning. So yeah, definitely make that extra time, especially with Mercury retrograde on top of it.
Mhm.
Definitely have that extra time to just get that rest and just have downtime for yourself. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. You have to honor yourself in all aspects.
Yep.
Definitely.
Thank you for that. Well, let's look at Libra. Libra, so Aries is the ram, and Libra is the scales and justice. So all about balance. It is the polar opposite of Aries, which Libra is all about selfless service to others and maybe often at the expense of themselves. So Libra's connected to the seventh house, and its seventh house is about what you share. Okay, so um, I like some of these questions here. So how well do you play with others? Do you like to play? Do you partner, commit, caretake, and cooperate with others, or is it difficult? Because if it's more difficult, we might be flowing back too much into the Aries, where it's all about us, which could be a little bit more of service to self when it's out of balance. Um, so how does that feel for you with the Libra? What do you think for you with that?
For me personally, I have a Libra moon, which you
Mhm.
know about. I could definitely see that too with Libra. We uh, that energy, we might have a tendency to try to people please, or
Mm.
you're thinking too much about other people, like, oh, I gotta get back to this person. My other my main job that I do entails a lot of talking to other people and communicating, so it's like you have to find that balance, right, with the Libra energy and have that time for yourself and other people, and especially those close relationships, because
Mhm.
especially with it ruling the seventh house of what you share. It can also be, marriages or even friendships too. It could be, if they're very lifelong friendships. So yeah, you just want to find that balance between having time for yourself and people that you care about and making
Absolutely.
it work. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the goal between these two polarities of fiery Aries,
Mhm.
which is Mars is the planet that rules Aries, and it's currently in Pisces. So it's a little watered down right now. This may be a little bit of a benefit while we're going through the eclipse. And then Aries Libra um, has Venus, which is currently in Aries. So Libra might be a little bit more outspoken than normal. So it's kind of interesting that there's a little bit of balancing going on there. So I feel the goal is to meet in the middle, balancing with caring service to self and others, as well as receiving care from others. A lot of us ladies, I don't, but it's kind of true. I'm sure there's men out there that do this too, but I think it's kind of like men are from Mars, women are from Venus a little bit, but we
Mhm.
tend to not let others take care of us. We're always out there taking care of everybody, the family, our animals, our spouse, our coworkers, even our bosses at times.
Mhm.
So it's all about that balance. Um, so let's go to a little bit of another question here about like looking at like, are we having healthy responses in our lives? Which area is missing? And then are we willing to reform the choices we're making? I think that's super important.
Mhm.
So, here's a few things just about the eclipse itself. So expect the unexpected. Something can just come out of the blue. We could reach a crossroads in a relationship or partnership. And again, I mentioned earlier, because of Mercury retrograde, and we're in pre-shadow and post-shadow periods, they go from March 19th through May 13th. So it's a little longer than April 1st through April 25th, which when you go online, that's what you see the most, but it is longer than you think. So being aware of that um, before you make major decisions is helpful. So I would like to talk a little bit about the shadow of the solar eclipse. And here's my questions. So, what about myself is no longer serving me and or my relationship? Am I only thinking of my own needs? Do I have to be first? This is going to be more Aries related especially if it's out of balance. Or again, Libra, am I giving my power away to another? Do I not want to take responsibility for my own life? Do I want somebody else to make decisions for me? That can happen with the sign of Libra. Am I codependent? And you mentioned earlier, people pleaser.
Mhm.
But this was a question I thought we'd talk a little bit about, Adriana. You love this. Are all of these limiting beliefs about myself, even ancestrally, keeping me from reaching my highest potential individually as well as in a
Mm.
relationship or partnership? Take it away, Adriana. What do you think?
Yeah, that good question.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not even sure how I can answer that one. I think that's a really good one to do some, reflection on. Again,
Mhm.
yeah, it's all about balance. That's what it comes down to. And um, once I get into what I will share too, I really think it is about taking your power back, like you were
Yes.
saying, and that's what I'll go into sharing as well in
Go
my
right
little
ahead.
story. Yeah.
I'm complete with my notes
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah. Yeah. Good transition. Yeah.
excellent.
It really is about, taking your power back, that Aries energy. How do we stand up for ourselves? But do so in a pragmatic way. So I will go ahead and I'll share my screen too in just a moment here. So the sun and moon and Chiron's the wounded healer. So there's some wounds coming up here. They're all in the sign of Aries, as we've mentioned. So not
Mm.
only is there an eclipse going on in Aries, but Chiron is in there too. And they're making this aspect that's called a sextile. And this is happening to these particular fixed stars. Now, stay with me. These fixed stars are Rigel and Bellatrix, and they are part of the beautiful Orion constellation. Okay, so with that being said, going into Greek mythology here. Now, you know that I'm very much into Greek mythology, and so are you. I think there's significance in this. So Orion, he was a warrior, and he even was, a hunter and warrior, and hunted alongside Artemis, also known as Diana. She's like the renowned female huntress. And in some versions of the myth, he got a little too cocky, a little too in his head, like that Aries energy. Aries rules the head. Too much in his ego, and he's like, basically, I can hunt every animal on this earth. And the earth heard him. Gaia, she did not like that. So she sent a scorpion after him, which ended up poisoning him. So when he died, Zeus had placed him in the stars, making the Orion constellation, with Scorpius constellation, the scorpion, looking to always be chasing after him on opposite ends of the sky. So, which I thought was kind of interesting here, but here we go. Yeah, so this is where the eclipse is happening. We can come back to this.
Oh, there you go.
Here's a good visual for you guys to see. So I feel this is a significant story, as this kind of gives us a reality check and reminds us of our mortality. With all this warrior energy going on with Aries, because Aries in Greek mythology is the god of war, we have to kind of humble ourselves here. With this aspect to the Orion constellation, it's very easy to get caught up in the excitement of the fire energy, but we have to be careful as to not get burned by our own fires we light, so to speak. And I do think it's significant in the United States because of various reasons. I won't get into the details, but obviously there's, election year going on there. So different belief systems are getting pressured here. They're at the forefront because the eclipse is happening here in the 9th house, which is all about law and justice. So that's kind of coming at a forefront here for the United States specifically. And this is the outcome of wounds being triggered for many people. And that even correlates to the 8th house, like the scorpion. Scorpio rules the 8th house, which is all about death and transformation. So just like the myth of Orion here. So in addition to this too, we also have a conjunction here with Tau Ceti, which is part of the Cetus constellation. It is represented as a whale, so very Piscean actually. And I feel this kind of poses the question, how do we step out of victimhood? How do we heal our wounds? So with both of these aspects here, with Orion and Tau Ceti here, this is asking us, how can we heal and learn our lessons? And how do we stand up for ourselves though, without causing more problems or issues? So do you have any perspective on that you could share?
Well, that was beautiful. I love what you shared.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you.
Well, one thing I do know is that Beetlejuice is dying. And so what that means is the light that's going to come affect us at some point. They don't really know when exactly, but when it comes in, Beetlejuice is in the armpit of the warrior.
Yeah, he's over here. And then with Bellatrix and Rigel is here.
But Beetlejuice is, when that light comes through, we may have our skies may be lighter all the time. Robert Edward Grant is a wonderful one to follow. That is an amazing astrologer and just an extraordinary individual. And he talks about it. He has actually a video on that, and I thought it was fascinating. But they really don't know when. You can't really tell when it's going to happen. Will it happen in our lifetime? I really don't know, but it would be kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. If the sky would be lighter.
The amount of light that would come in, could that help to awaken enough people?
That's
One
really
thing,
interesting.
just really quick, and then I'll give it back to you, but
Sure.
everything is being affected by Pluto and Aquarius.
Yeah.
And this one had an orb, a tight orb of 0.09 and in Aquarius and very, very tight. So yeah, you probably have it up here somewhere. Yes, but it is affecting everything. And we don't know how it's going to affect everything because
Mm.
248 years ago was the last time it was in Aquarius. And back then there was revolutions, there was push for change. So we can only assume it would be the same, but we really, really don't know. So that's all I wanted to add, but you please go right ahead.
Okay, so I also just wanted to quickly pop this in too. Some of you guys might be familiar with the show Avatar, The Last Airbender. There was an animated series, and they recently did a live action one. I haven't finished watching it yet, but when I was looking at this chart of this eclipse, it just reminded me of it. It's like, and this might be a good way actually for those of you who are new to astrology to kind of understand this, especially if you've watched the show. It's about the different elements. So the four elements: fire, earth, water, air. And it's like the whole Fire Nation is here
Very
with all
much.
this Aries energy. And that's, as you know, if you've watched the show, it's like a big um, antagonist, I guess, in it. But a big influence. So yeah, it's like you have the Fire Nation here, you have the Water Tribe, and then you have the Earth Tribe over here trying to
Yes.
surround and cool down the fire, and then we have Pluto here,
Yes.
just
In
float,
air.
yeah,
Air.
floating
Yes.
around in the air element like the Avatar. So I just,
Altair is where that Pluto in Aquarius
yes,
is with that 0.09. It's Altair. Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
very tight orb, yeah,
Eagle energy, flying high.
yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
that's kind of funny too that it's represented as the eagle and this going on with the United States. A little patriotic.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, I thought that was just a nice way to kind of see the elements here. So you don't have to fully understand the graph whenever you're looking at this, but that's kind of a fun way to
Yes.
see this here.
Yes.
But yeah, just to wrap up my point, and then we'll discuss a little bit more about it. This Aries energy, what is really happening and what it's really doing is it's teaching us to stand up for ourselves and to fight for justice, like that
Mhm.
warrior calls for you to do. But we have to be reminded of the story of Orion as to not get too carried away in our ego or our head,
Mhm.
and to learn our lessons and figure out a new path forward.
Yes.
So
Lead
what
with
could
our
you
hearts.
say?
The
Yeah,
heart.
yeah, with our
Lead with our
hearts.
hearts, heart to heart.
Yes, heart to heart, perfect. So yeah, let's find, I put also sensible empowerment in a
Mm,
way. How do we empower ourselves? So do you
love
have
that.
anything to add on to what I shared about?
That's a good way to put it. Sensible empowerment that
Mhm.
blends Aries and Libra. So we're trying
Yes.
to find the best of both.
Mhm.
And in astrology, no matter what, when you get a personal report from Adriana or myself, we're looking for that. We're looking at what are the highest qualities of a house that you have a sign in, et cetera,
Mhm.
planets in. And how can you combine these things and bring them into your life and find the balance? We don't want to be overly selfless. We don't want to be overly selfish. So in the middle, that's the goal.
Absolutely.
All
Yeah.
types of healing. It's balance. It truly is. That's the theme for the year, really is balance.
Yeah.
But we were
Mm.
speaking a little bit earlier about when you brought up Orion as well. It's interesting because I see Orion, well, from my guidance from many, many, many years ago, that Orion is kind of the as above to Earth. We are the as below version of this melting pot here on Earth of working out things in 3D. that we are the actors kind of playing out what may have happened. And what can happen, it's not the best thing, but we could be the negative, what they call the negative contextual field of from the future. So Orion, say, here's an example people could relate to, maybe Star Wars and Star Trek, especially the
Yes.
TV shows.
Star Wars fan. Yep.
Generation, I remember seeing them. They were like all these different beings hanging out in a space bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got these huge reptilians, and you have these little elves and all kinds of cool stuff. So, that's Hollywood to some extent, but could it be that in the future, way in the future, or we could look at it in the ancient past, we're a circle. So who's to say? Is it before or after? We can't really tell.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be that Orion may have healed much of the wounds at that level, especially at that higher frequency? And then we are still playing out some of the karmic patterns to finish that up that need to be taken care of. So what does that mean exactly? So I see that we're considered very much like the guides that work with people. They feel like they're amazed at what we're doing, that we're in the body, that we're doing this work. So we're kind of the foot soldiers, so to speak, doing the tougher work to then send the vibration of healing. So when we have something happen and we have a great result, waves of that goes through our ancestry. And it doesn't just go forward, it can go backward, it can go any direction. So maybe if we're in the middle, say we're in the middle, we could help our parents and our grandparents and our great-great-grandparents. And then we could help our future generations, our children and children's children, and forward. So whoever is in that position to do some major change in a pattern is going to be a pivotal point that's going to wave it out through the ancestry. So if every single one of us are doing that, you could see where there could be collective growth and collective healing over time. So we're like the foot soldiers. We are doing the tough work. We really are.
Yeah.
Go ahead, honey.
I was just going to add to that. I feel just from, just seeing things and my personal experience that a lot of us are starting to become more awakened to healing our ancestral lineage, or, breaking generational curses, whatever you want to call them. I think a lot of us are becoming more awakened now in that. So I think it's,
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm sure you've seen that in your work too. Yeah.
So with as we go more forward with this Pluto and Aquarius, it's going to really push us forward quicker, because we've got that air sign, Pluto and Aquarius with that air sign, and then pushing all this fire that's here this year. We have a lot of fire and air. So that's just going to make a bigger fire.
Yeah.
Moving
Waving the
us forward.
flames.
So, but I love, both of us are saying the same thing, that we have to also be careful to not overdo.
Yes.
Not push ourselves to the point of exhaustion. I hear a lot of people saying how exhausted they are. I don't think they're addressing self-care. That is so important. Taking time for a nice little cup of tea with a great here.
Yeah.
Something you enjoy, and just slowing down a little bit, slowing down with meditation, walks in nature, connection with your loved one. If you're having a difficult time with partnership or marriage or relationship, get out in nature together. Very, very healing.
Yeah, I agree. As you know, I'm always out in nature. That is entailed with my job of dog walking. So, and that's one of the things I love about it, is being out in nature. It just, even when it's been, cold weather, it just really grounds you. So I also really recommend being out in nature, especially if you have a lot of earth placements in your astrology chart too.
Yes.
But honestly, it really wouldn't matter. I think any sign could just use some grounding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Grounding is part of balancing. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I love gemstones and crystals that are very grounding. Those are helpful tools. They're little elemental.
Bring
Star
nature inside. Yeah.
Yes.
Have plants. Yeah. Things like that.
And even more so, I'd love to bring up, if this is a good time, a little bit about kind of promoting our third video
Sure.
on
Yeah.
Jupiter and Uranus are going to be conjuncting, and this is going to be huge. And we will talk in depth on it. But with Jupiter, Jupiter is going to be in Taurus, and
Mm.
Uranus is in Taurus. So that's grounding. Those are,
Yes. Yeah. That's
and
a
that's on April 20th. And
definitely.
we are going to really need that, because by May 25th, Jupiter is going to shift from Taurus into Gemini. And it's just going to be like,
Mm.
we are really going to start flying once that we have that air with Pluto and Aquarius air, and
Yeah.
then making bigger air with Gemini. So
Mm.
those are two main things that we're going to see. But we will talk extensively about Jupiter and this conjunction in Uranus. And then we're going to encourage people to find out if it's in their chart. And they
Mm.
could contact us for maybe a short report to research that for them, find out. And that would
Yeah.
be good to know. Like, I have Jupiter sextile Uranus, and the sextile means that they get along really well. It's not
Mm-hmm.
the same as a conjunction. A conjunction is like 12 o'clock merged, right? At midnight or noon.
Yeah. Right next to each
Sextile
other.
is more like, I think, like 10 to 2 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's one sign over from another type of thing. So, but anybody with any type of aspect, whether it's hard or soft, with that are going to see some major changes. And I feel in a very good way. I truly do.
Yeah. And Jupiter is very expansive. So
Oh my
yeah.
goodness, yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
then of course there's, Uranus is revolutionary, liberation.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Hmm.
it could be bringing collectively some major changes.
Yeah.
Yep.
This whole year is just, yeah, lots of transformation and
Oh,
changes. And it's going on in a internal level and external. It's really both of them.
yes.
It's like
And
100% internal, 100% external.
focus on the internal, because you're wasting your time if you
Yes.
try to change it out here.
Yeah,
It'll
you have
never
to start here.
totally, totally
Yeah.
beautiful.
Agreed. Yeah. So
Mhm.
to wrap up the video, I will share my tarot message that I pulled before the video started. And it is, of course, fire energy coming out with Aries in perfect fashion here. Ace of Wands, it's called. And this is my cat tarot deck. So it's a cat paw holding the wand here. And it's like leading the way here. This is divine timing. This is divine intervention happening here. What can I say? It's in the stars. This is all part of divine timing. So just go with it, with Mercury retrograde to all this stuff going on. Just go with the flow the best you can. Take the time out to just listen to your body, as we both mentioned, and just let this play out the way it's meant to here.
And
And
Mercury retrograde is everything it's redo, revision,
yeah,
revise, review,
yeah,
being aware of that. And then when we head into May, Jupiter going into Gemini, and then we're out of the retrograde shadow, I think, as of like May, what was it, 13th, 15th, somewhere around there.
yeah, I
So
think
then
so.
you can come, and we could have this with this Aries leading the way. And we're starting at the beginning of the wheel. It's like we're starting over again. We don't
Yeah.
have to keep carrying the past with us. We
Hmm.
could have something completely new in our lives.
Hmm.
Um, and again, it could be just a total revision of say you're in a long-term marriage, and you're breathing life back into it in such an exciting way, falling in love again. Or if it has to be moving on and moving forward, that will happen if it's meant to. So all
Yeah,
excited.
it's gonna happen if it's meant to. Yeah, it's
There
gonna
you
come
go.
in. Yeah.
Perfect card, Adriana. I
The
love
universe is bringing this in. Yeah.
it for sure. Oh, this was so much fun.
Yes. Well, thank you all for joining us. I really enjoyed doing the second episode, and yeah, do look forward to our next one. As we mentioned, we'll be talking about Uranus and Jupiter and that aspect, and kind of what you guys can expect to see what's going on in the next video.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for being here, and take some time to reflect after listening to this video. I know this can be a lot of information. Like I said, you can take notes on this or come back to this video too and see how you feel, especially after the eclipse.
In our first video too. Look at
Yes,
both.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you all so much. And please comment down below if anything resonates for you or if you have anything you want to share with us. We really would love to see your comments. And of course, like and subscribe so you can stay tuned in for the next one.